Hi, you guys, it's Lindy. Okay, so there was something that I kind of wanted to chitty chat a little bit about, and I figured that maybe it'd be a good topic of discussion. Maybe? Basically, it seems like there are two different kinds of resellers. There are the resellers that work off of volume, and there are resellers that work off of individual profits. So that's kind of what I wanted to talk about. So typically twice a week, I always put out a video for you guys showing the things that I've sold and the profits that I have received per item. In doing this, that has really opened me up to a lot of comments, a lot of emails, a lot of criticism about how I'm wasting my time on the profits. And, you know, this is not about like one comment in particular or one email in particular. Frankly, I get them so much now, I just kind of brush them off and forget that they ever happened. But it is something that I wanted to talk about and I guess just kind of vent about a little bit because, you know, it can get a little irritating at times when, people see or hear about your profits being, only $1.50 for something just because you took a best offer to move it and they completely ignore, the $25 profit that you got on something else. And so I just wanted to kind of talk about how I look at my profits as a lump sum, not just individual profits per item. The reason why I tell you guys the individual profits per item is so that you can kind of get an idea of what items are selling for and those items in particular, how much I paid for them, how much you might be able to get them for. And so, I mean, really during those videos, you can kind of pick and choose what kind of stuff you want to pay attention to. In my video today, there was, oh my God, I'm totally like not even thinking about it. But there are some items that maybe I only got a $3 profit on. If, you just want to ignore those completely and look at the ones that I got that might have been a higher profit. But the thing of it is whenever I am working my business, I don't necessarily look at individual profits. I look at the big picture. I look at my total profits for the month or my total profits for the week, and I will take into account the amount of hours I worked, and I will find basically an hourly wage based on the work that I did that week versus the profits that I had. Now, of course, that's going to vary from week to week, right? Because, some weeks you sell higher profit items than other weeks, but usually it tends to average out. So, this is probably like the worst possible time for me to be bringing up this video right now because my profits in the last couple of weeks haven't been as great as they had been in the past. My gross sales were pretty good, but my net profits were fairly low just because I have been reinvesting a lot of money into the business and I've been looking to hire an employee, and so I have to pull some of my profits out for that because that is going to be a very big investment, hiring an assistant. Just because I am going to need to pay them up front to complete the tasks of helping me list, and the items are not going to start selling right away. So it's going to be an initial investment. So really my profits right now are slim to none just because I'm planning to reinvest so much in the business. But if I were not planning to reinvest, I would take the amount of profits that I have made for the week, and I would simply divide that by the number of hours that I've actually worked to find out my average hourly rate. And, and I did that just recently, and granted, it's a lot lower than it used to be. Before, my profits were more like $15 to $20 an hour for my time. but recently they have dropped off to like $13 an hour for my time. But the reason why they dropped off is just because I have been investing so much more time. I've been investing more time in sourcing. I've been investing more time in listing to try to grow. I've been investing more time in trying to hire somebody. And when I'm spending hours out of my day trying to find an assistant, I'm not selling anything during that time. So, it's my hourly wage for my time has dropped to, $13 an hour the last time I calculated. And I mean, depending on where you live, here where I live, $13 an hour is nothing to shake a stick at, especially for a part-time job. I work probably 24 to 25 hours a week. And I even broke it down in case you guys are at all curious on how I spend my time on eBay. I source for an average of 3 hours a week, and that's being generous. I don't spend a lot of time sourcing. I'll spend maybe 30 minutes at the DAV or the Salvation Army. I'll spend maybe an hour or two at Goodwill and call it good. I don't even like to take sourcing time into account because sourcing is fun for me. I love going into Goodwill and hunting and Salvation Army and hunting and they're not too far from my house. It's not like I have to drive a really, really long way. And if I do have to go into Manhattan, Kansas to do some sourcing, I run other errands while I'm there. It's not like I'm just going to do sourcing. So, but lately I've been twice in December, I drove to Kansas City specifically to go to the outlets. Now that is time that I'm going to have to start taking into account because it is a full day. It's very exhausting. It's still really, really fun. I still love going to the outlet, but it is a lot more time. So it's a lot more time invested. But up until, I started going to the outlet, sourcing, it's really hard to say that I need to get paid for my time sourcing because I enjoy it so much, and so anyway, so if I'm spending 24 to 25 hours a week on eBay, that includes, 3 hours a week of sourcing, not taking into account going to Goodwill Outlet. I have not started figuring that in for my time yet. Mainly because I haven't listed a lot of that stuff. So I'm not going to take that time into account until those items are actually listed and starting to produce a lot more sales. I've only listed probably 50 items and I have almost 500 that I got from the outlet. So only 50 of 500. So I haven't really started taking that into account yet. And then I spend probably an hour a day doing bookkeeping and actually shipping the items that sell. So 7 hours a week for that, an hour a day. And then for listing, I'm guessing about 14 hours. I'm guessing that I spend about 2 hours a day listing. That's a fair estimate. Some days I don't list at all. Some days I'll list a whole bunch. So I would say roughly 2 hours a day in the evenings listing is fair. So 3 hours sourcing, 7 hours on shipping and bookkeeping, and 14 hours on listing. That is 24 hours of my week dedicated to eBay. And so, and it comes out to about $13 an hour for my time. And for a part-time job with the convenience of working at home and working when I want and doing what I want, $13 an hour is not bad for a part-time job. So, and I fully intend to kick it up in 2017. That's the whole reason why I'm hiring an assistant. That's the whole reason why I am reinvesting money into the business, buying more merchandise and, I want to grow. So rather than taking the time looking at the profit per item and saying, well, that's not worth it, that's not how I look at it. That's not how I look at it at all. And, and if you guys are really struggling with something like finding those high profit flip items, then, just know that I know I say this all the time, and I know other resellers say it all the time, but I'm going to say it again. The little amounts add up. They really do. They really do. You know, especially if it's a multiple quantity listing. I know I show you guys those all the time. I know that I'm always showing you guys, you know, like the TheraFlu that I just recently sold and told you guys about, or the mattress protectors. You know, I'll buy a case of it at a time, create the listing once, do a multiple quantity listing, and then after the first, you know, depending on how much I spent, after the first, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 sales, it's pure profit after that. And there's no extra work. You just let the listing roll and you let it do its thing. So yeah, it might only be $1.50 every time it sells, or it might only be $3 or $4 every time it sells, but there's no additional work. All you have to do is, you know, drop it in a package and ship it out while you're shipping out other things. You don't have to create the listings over again and all of this stuff. So that stuff is easy. And so those profits are very, very simple to me. You know, it's a simple choice to make. You know, yeah, you do have to move volume, and sometimes the volume can get a little bit overwhelming, but you know, it's a business. Making money is work, you know. I mean, it's work. And so that's one kind of seller. And then, you know, and then there's another kind of seller that is really, really knowledgeable, has been doing it long enough to know one particular item, you know, maybe they can buy for less than, you know, $5 and flip it for 50 or 100. And eventually I would hope that to be able to spot those kind of things. But until then, you know, this is what works for me. And I know that this is what works for, you know, a lot of other people. It's how people pay their bills. And so whatever works, whatever makes money, right? And so, you know, I guess I wanted to encourage anybody that is wanting to resell or is a reseller that's maybe wondering if those profits aren't worth it. I guess I'm just wanting to kind of challenge you to look at it in another way, you know, look at it from another point of view. You know, yeah, that one item, it only sold and you made a $3 profit. What's $3? Well, you know, $3 isn't much, but when you compile it all together, it makes a really big chunk of money. And, you know, and not only that, but it's, even if you take less money than you expect for something, just to move it, just to get it out of your inventory, you're getting your initial investment back and then a little bit more. So it's a constant revolving inventory system. And that's kind of the way you need to think about it. You need to look at the whole month and see what your profits were. You need to look at the whole week and see what the profits were, and justify whether or not it's worth it then. So yeah, you might have a bad week where maybe you only made $1 or $2 profit on 50 items, and so that's a really bad week. But another week, maybe you moved 50 items and your profit was more like $10 each, you know? So it all averages out in the end. At least it does for me. So that's just, I guess it's my 2 cents. I guess I just kind of wanted to, you know, talk about it a little bit, because I'll respond to comments occasionally, or I'll respond to emails occasionally where people tell me that I'm wasting my time, or that I'm doing more work than necessary for small money, whatever. And I guess I just wanted to put this out into the world that I'm very much aware of how much money I make. I am very much aware of the time that I spend. And if it wasn't worth it for me, I wouldn't be doing it. That's that. Also, something that I wanted to address just really, really quickly. I have gotten a couple of comments and emails from people asking how to know how much money to reinvest in the business, or if there's a certain number to look at. And so I kind of wanted to talk just very, very briefly about that as well. Because when I did decide to hire an assistant, and I did decide to, you know, kick up the business a little bit more, you know, I basically told myself that I was going to take all of my December profits and throw it into January, like, kickstart. Because, you know, I upgraded my store from a basic to a premium. I have been sourcing at Goodwill outlet like a maniac. You know, I have already hired an assistant that is starting on Monday. And, you know, I've invested all of this time and money into the business. And so, but before that point, I really wasn't reinvesting. I was simply taking what I had already invested and reincorporating it into the business and just trying to get the cost of goods as low as possible. And how I did that, so simple, so simple. On, you know, my spreadsheet or my bookkeeping, all I would do is I just had like a secondary column that basically every time I did my bookkeeping and I was figuring out my profits and everything like that, I would basically just keep a running tally of the cost of goods that sold. So, you know, if Saturday I sold, you know, $100 in goods, and the actual cost of goods that I paid, the actual cost of goods was $20, then I would put $20 in that column. And then I would say to myself, okay, I have $20 that I got back from my investment that I can reinvest. And so I wasn't really going over that initial investment. I was just keeping track of the money that I had already invested and got back. And so then once a week, what I would do is I would tally all of those up. You know, on, you know, Monday, I got $18 back from my investment, and then Tuesday I got $22 back from my investment, and then Wednesday I got $7 back of my investment. And I would just total all those up, and then on, you know, Sunday when I would go sourcing, I would total all those up and I would say, okay, I have this amount of money that I got back from sales this week that I can put back into the business. And it wasn't eating into profits, and it wasn't costing me any additional money because it was money that I had already invested that I simply just got a return back on. So basically that's how I did it, and that's how I still do it. It's nothing fancy. I just keep track of the money that I get back from the sales and I just reinvest it directly. You know, it's only now that I, you know, realize that I want to kick up the business. I'm hiring somebody, I'm sourcing more merchandise, that I made that decision that I'm just going to take all of my profits for December and reinvest it into the business for January. And, you know, I know that not everybody can do that. Luckily, you know, I'm in the position where I am part-time. I am working my way up to having a full-time business with eBay. But, you know, I am in the position where it is part-time, and my profits from eBay does not pay all of my bills. So I do have that luxury of reinvesting all the money. If eBay was my only source of income, I would definitely have to be more strategic. I obviously couldn't take a whole month's worth of my net profit and reinvest it in the company if I wasn't prepared for it. So, but that's what I chose to do because I want to grow the business. You know, I want to make it bigger and better. So, but that's how I would track how I was reinvesting in the business. I would just basically pencil and paper it, except I did it on a spreadsheet. And I just tallied everything up. And then every week I took my initial investment and went and reinvested it again. So that's that. You know, I really thank you guys so much for watching this rant of mine. I don't know if you call it a venting session, a rant, whatever. I just know that there are typically two kinds of resellers, and one thinks that they're better than the other usually, and then the other thinks that they're better, and there's more ways to look at the reselling business than just one way. And so I just, you know, wanted to kind of, I guess, put this out in the universe for everybody to kind of think about. Yeah. So, you know, I know that there are a lot of resellers that do the same kind of thing that I do. And then there are a lot of resellers that are very, very picky and choosy, and they only sell things that can bring them, you know, at least a $100 profit or something like that, and whatever works for everybody, you know, but this works for me. I don't hate it. I enjoy it. So, yeah. Okay. Thank you for watching. Feel free to leave a comment if you want to leave a comment, if you want to kind of contribute to the conversation, maybe kind of tell us all what you do. I'm always really curious to see if, you know, people sell things by volume, you know, quantity, or if you lean more towards quality and you only sell a few things, but they're for really high profits, or if you're kind of a mix between the two. I'm always really curious to see what people are doing. So, you know, leave it in the comments. What kind of stuff do you sell? Like, you know, do you move a lot of volume? Do you only sell a few things? That kind of thing. I guess if you like this video, give me a thumbs up and let me know. And if you haven't subscribed to me yet, I hope you will. And thank you guys again so much for watching. I'll see you with my next video. Bye.